Is it normal to have a sharp splitting pain right down the middle of your head where your two brain hemispheres meet? The number 5 most viewed PragerU video is this one. Immigrants don't support what you fled. Before we get into that, let's take a look at the thumbnail. A family of 4 here crossing the border from Mexico into the USA, carrying 3 big bags: socialism, big government, and one-party rule. Now, I know that Dennis Prager is Jewish, but I'm pretty certain that these are not the gifts that the 3 wise men brought baby Jesus. Now, I'm not exactly an expert on Mexican politics, but from what I do know, they don't have these things either. Is Mexico socialist now? So I'm sure that this is going to be a very coherent video.
I live in Guatemala and I work throughout Latin America. And I want to speak to the millions of fortunate Hispanic immigrants living in the United States, legally or not.
All right, just so we can file this away in the back of our heads. This is Gloria Alvarez. She is a radio host and libertarian political commentator from Guatemala. If you already find her voice annoying, I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Legally or not. I have a question for you.
Ask me.
Why do you support the same policies in the US that cause you to flee your home country?
Do you think we're going to get a coherent example what this might be? I want to point something out. This video began addressing immigrants, and now we're using the language flee your home country. Now, the term immigrants can apply to refugees and people seeking asylum, but this is already a little sleight of hand here.
The policies I'm talking about are those that lead to a bigger and bigger central government. You know only too well that the more power the government has, the more corrupt it becomes.
Well, that doesn't necessarily follow. Oh, that's not a good face. Okay, why are you supporting policies that lead to bigger government? And that's why you fled? Yeah, because when I think of the Guatemalan government, I think, oh yeah, the Guatemalan government is certainly a powerhouse of Latin America.
My home country, like most other nations in Central and South America, is very poor. 54% of the population lives in poverty, and 13% live in extreme poverty. Half of all children under 5 are chronically malnourished.
Damn, that sucks.
Crippling government corruption is the norm.
Okay, those don't necessarily have to follow.
Opening a new business can take months, even years, because of a multitude of regulations that are designed to line the pockets of bureaucrats. So the cost is much too high for the average citizen.
You don't have an example for this? Any source on that? No, there's no sources. For the complete script, visit. Oh, look at that. This page doesn't exist. Great job, PragerU. That is also an unfortunate face. I get the feeling we're going to get a lot of those in this video. First page here. Starting a business is a process shrouded in red tape and can take over 40 days to complete. The elongated nature of company formation in Guatemala prompted the World Bank and IFC to rank it 172nd in the world out of 185 economies. Alright, okay, looks like the claim in Guatemala is more or less correct. But this person specifically addressed American Hispanic immigrants. Now I wonder, what sort of policies are happening here in the United States that are similar to this? So up to this point, Gloria Alvarez has made descriptive claims about Guatemalan statistics, but she has, as of yet, to make any connections to immigrants, and she has yet to make any causal links to these statistics and policies that immigrants are supporting, or policies at all for that matter,
that are designed to line the pockets of bureaucrats. So the cost is much too high for the average citizen. Quite simply, unless you're politically connected in Guatemala, you probably want to leave. And in the last 20 years, many Guatemalans have left. Or to put it more honestly, they fled.
Okay, fine.
The fortunate ones reached the United States, the freest and wealthiest nation in human history.
List of countries by incarceration rate. Number 1 on the list, the United States of America. Incarceration rate per 100,000 is 655. Our total prison population is over 2 million. That's right, we are leagues ahead of even China. There's a Rage Against the Machine song called Know Your Enemy. Clear the lane, the finger to the lance of the chains. What, the land of the free? Whoever told you that is your enemy. Also, I want to point something else out here. When you look at lists of countries by wealth, right? The United States of America does have the largest total wealth. However, when you sort by GDP per capita, we are right off of the top 10. The United States is the richest country in the world, and it has the biggest wealth gap. This article came out September 23rd, 2020, just a few months ago. So, the United States may very well be the most wealthiest nation in the world, but it ain't for you. Which is kind of funny because she made the claim here.
Bureaucrats. So the cost is much too high for the average citizen. Quite simply, unless you're politically connected in Guatemala, you probably want to leave.
Hey, look at that! The United States and Guatemala. We have bridged this cultural divide. The finger to the land of the chains. What? The land of the free? Whoever told you that is your enemy.
Every Mexican and Central and South American immigrant in the United States, whether they immigrated legally or illegally, moved or fled to the US for the same reasons: economic opportunity and the freedom to shape their own lives.
Maybe they just like our burgers. Economic opportunity and the freedom to shape their own lives. Freedom to shape their own lives. What, you can't do that in Mexico? Y'all want a hot take some people PragerU may not like? I don't think Mexico is that bad. Now, of course, I am comparing it to current modern-day America. Current modern-day America ain't so great either.
Economic opportunity and the freedom to shape their own lives.
So in a way this is true, but this is kind of a dishonest framing because that's kind of how most people ever move in general. I'm gonna go move over to the other side of Phoenix because I have a job over there and I want to move and live closer to it. That's economic opportunity. That's kind of a dumb way for you to frame this. And the freedom to shape my own life. Like, what is that supposed to mean? Is she gonna give an example of that? I'd love to hear that.
In short, you came to the United States to participate in what Americans call the American dream. But
yeah. Oh, God. Oh. I might... You're gonna have to stitch my brain back together, guys. What year was this? Are they still... 2016? Okay, it's been a little while. Are they still trying to sell us on the lie of the American dream? You know, Rise Against had a song, Satellite. Why we stick to your game plans and party lines. Oh, but at night we're conspiring by candlelight. We are the orphans of the American dream. So shine your light on me. You know, that's why they call it the American dream, because eventually you're gonna wake up.
have you ever asked yourself, why is the United States so free, so much less corrupt, and so much more affluent
oh my god. The gears in my head are gumming up. This is the American dream? A fucking Denny's? Freedom is having breakfast at the local small business alternative to Denny's. Freedom is hash browns and scrambled eggs, 2 for 1. Kids under 5 eat for free. That's why it's called freedom. What's the actual argument here, so I'm not...
So much less corrupt and so much more affluent than any Latin American country.
We've already been over some of this. The United States is not more free than Latin American countries. Objectively speaking, freedom is kind of an intangible, abstract concept. Now, what metric would you like to measure freedom? I feel like prison population is probably the #1 thing I would look at there. I don't know about less corrupt. Trump's businesses raked in $1.9 billion of revenue during his first 3 years in office. That's the American dream, baby. No, you don't understand. It's not that the United States is more free and less corrupt, but we've combined our freedom and corruption together. And you said more affluent?
Much more affluent than any Latin American country.
Well, the United States is much more affluent because at the end of World War II, we were in a very unique position that has never been replicated at all in human history. Every other major industrialized country at the time was suffering heavy losses to their populations and infrastructure. The United States not only came out relatively unscathed, but thanks to the war and the New Deal policies of FDR, the United States got to see a massive surge in our economy, among a whole lot of other things, and we've kind of been riding that wave since, although we're stumbling. Oh, we're stumbling now. In fairness, this video did come out in 2016. It was October 2016, so it was before Trump won, too.
The answer lies first and foremost
Oh, that's right. PragerU's not going to give an answer like that.
The unique American belief in limited government.
Okay.
Why?
Just rejecting the history of everything the New Deal did for us. This is ahistorical. This is historical revisionism.
Because the smaller the government, the less the corruption. And the smaller the government, the more individual freedom and personal responsibility.
Not only is this objectively wrong, but using the United States as an example is an extra dosage of wrong on top of it. If freedom is the Denny's, then this argument is the whipped cream you're getting on your French toast. Freedom toast. We don't call it French toast. So when Abraham Lincoln was leading the Union in the Civil War, he oversaw a massive expansion of power in the United States government. Yeah, he did a little thing you might have heard of called the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, it's part of it. Do I even need to go on here? I'm sorry, this is like a child's argument. This is like an 8-year-old wrote this on a piece of paper. Those of you that don't know, the Emancipation Proclamation, along with the 13th Amendment, that was the official end of slavery. You could say it's an expansion of individual freedom by an expansion of a larger central government. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. You don't understand. You don't understand American history. Then we get personal responsibility. How does that factor into this? Yeah, maybe those slaves should have taken better responsibility for themselves. I'm sorry.
And those things, along with hard work and talent, you can accomplish your life's goals.
This is absurd. Can't help but notice you're leaving out luck and other people. So you just abandoned personal responsibility, huh? You're just not even going to address that?
So back to my question. Why would you support policy?
Why would you not talk about how personal responsibility factors into this?
Why would you support policies that keep expanding the power of the government?
So we're halfway through and we have not had a single example of any policies. Now, she has specifically used the word policies several times now. Kind of weird. We don't have any, we don't get any more detail. What you got for me?
When they are the very policies that doom your home countries.
Like what?
Is it because you think that when Democrats offer you free stuff, it means they really care about you?
Okay, so I think this is the first actual mention of the Democratic Party. We'll get that out of the way. And this is also the first mention of any sort of policy, even if she's reducing it to free stuff. We've got a few things on the picture here. We have a Medicaid card, which means, I guess, letting poor people have health care will lead to the downfall of America. Cash receipt voucher. I don't know what that is. Is that supposed to be like a universal basic income? It's not what EBT cards look like. None that I've seen anyway. Over here we've got a baby bottle and a rabbit formula. Why is there a rabbit on it? I think it's just supposed to be baby formula. Maybe the government will give you a rabbit. I never know with PragerU. And then here we've got a hospital, and this looks like, I guess this is a cell phone. And then there's a bunch of buildings here. Public housing? So first off, let's address this argument.
Is it because you think that when Democrats offer you free stuff, it means they really care about you?
I don't care what the Democratic Party thinks of me. I don't care. Nobody cares. They're politicians. They just want to get elected. They just want to get their paychecks. But if voting for that particular group helps me get my medications, I'll fucking vote for them. Easy. And that's not going to lead to the collapse of America because the majority of other countries already have a universal healthcare system. And in fact, literally every single other country on the planet has cheaper healthcare than the United States. Yeah, we crossed that threshold. We're the most expensive now. I don't care if they care about me.
Do you think that when Republicans talk about enforcing immigration laws, it means they are going to send you back?
Yes, that's exactly what they want to do. In fact, you were addressing illegal immigrants earlier in the video. So, I mean, yes. To those people, yes.
Let's be honest. You didn't come here for free stuff. You came for the economic opportunity that allows you to work and earn.
Hey guys, the firefighters came and put out the fire in my house. But I didn't ask for no government handout. So I picked up that water and I shoved it back up the hose. Now this free stuff is obviously just a really condescending way of looking at this. Now, you and me, we know that PragerU is funded by oil billionaires, obviously. So what they would describe as free stuff, the rest of us would see as basic needs for a functioning society. Maybe this makes me a radical communist to these people, but I don't think people should have to pay thousands of dollars for their fucking insulin. I think that's bullshit. Especially when we know what the manufacturing process is. We know the manufacturing cost only takes like pennies to make, but some giant company owns the patent. What are you gonna do? This is just like the most obvious example of free stuff. The difference is if we don't have a fire department, then the fire is gonna spread out of control and burn down everyone else. But like, oh, so some guy couldn't get his medication, and so he just had a seizure on the sidewalk and cracked his head open and died. No one cares. This is America.
And of course, a nation has an obligation to enforce its borders. Certainly, every country in Central and South America does.
What the fuck is this argument? I wasn't expecting that.
In fact, much more so than the US.
This really is like an 8-year-old wrote this. Is that racist of me to say? Is the Guatemalan education system just really bad? And that's why she's making these arguments? Oh, I feel kind of bad. Hey, Gloria, if you're watching this, I'm not sorry.
In fact, much more so than the US. Perhaps you believe that your home country is poor not because of failed social...
Oh, so she just dropped the argument about borders. It's only there for like 8 seconds.
A nation has an obligation to enforce its borders. Certainly, every country in Central and South America does. In fact, much more so than the US.
That was 9 seconds, and then she dropped it. Wow. That's amazing. Amazing.
Perhaps you believe that your home country is poor not because of failed socialism and corrupt big government.
Hey, you didn't make any arguments about socialism up to this point. Why are you bringing it up out of nowhere now?
But because of issues unrelated to ideology. Not enough natural resources.
That's a factor.
Imperialism.
Oh, that's a big factor.
And so on.
Oh, and so on? Just 2 examples? That's all you got? That's not a good looking face. I'm sorry. But yes, not enough natural resources can be a factor. Some countries have had better success transitioning to a service economy, so it's not necessarily mattered a whole lot to those. Of course, having natural resources is a big leg up when doing that. As for imperialism, most, if not all, of Latin America has been subject to foreign intervention on behalf of the United States. And that's just like the last 100 years. And that's not even talking about colonialism. That's not even talking about settlers. Not even talking about the massive diseases and genocide that's gone on. Just look at last 100 years there. Do a quick Google. CIA, Latin America. United States involvement in regime change in Latin America. Holy shit. Wow, that's worse than I thought. So everything in green here is coups with U.S. involvement. Everything in these little reds, U.S. invasion. Green, orange stripes, claims of U.S. involvement in regime change. And this yellow and green is attempted. So in all of Latin America, the only attempted one that failed is Cuba. That's like all of it. I think we left Guyana alone. This list here goes on for a while. There's multiple things in Venezuela. Eee. Do you think our colleague here, Gloria's gonna talk about that? Look at that face and tell me that's not the face of someone who's gonna tell us about the CIA involvement in Latin America. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is gonna go well.
Or worse, you believe that the US has gotten rich on the backs of poor nations.
Fucking true. Literally, Dick Cheney made money off the Iraq War. That's just one vice president. How many other people have made money off of our foreign entanglements? A lot.
But these narratives are false.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. Entire left wing destroyed. She just destroyed the Sandinistas with one fell swoop.
There are many nations blessed with abundant natural resources that are poor. And they are poor overwhelmingly because of corrupt governments and policies that destroy incentives to produce.
Oh, is that it? So you keep saying this, but you're not really giving me a convincing argument. You're just kind of waving your hand at poor governments and saying, oh, they're poor because they're corrupt. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but that's like an 8-year-old wrote that. There's a myriad of other reasons why a country might be poor. I don't talk corrupt government. I feel like incompetent is a more likely one. But that doesn't sell quite as much in a PragerU video. Also, you know, you might be kind of poor if you're getting overthrown by a CIA-backed military coup that just wants to maintain power and keep everyone else down. It might be worth bringing up, Gloria. By the way, something else you may want to know here. It is really kind of funny that this is coming from someone from Guatemala. Gloria here is rejecting all of this. Imperialism's not true. The US hasn't gotten rich on the backs of poorer nations. Professor Attack is going to teach you a little bit about Guatemalan history. Come with me. I'm sure Gloria here already knows it. 1954 Guatemalan coup d'etat, codenamed Operation PB Success, was a covert operation carried out by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency that deposed the democratically elected Guatemalan president Jacobo Arbenz and ended the Guatemalan Revolution. It installed the military dictatorship of Carlos Castillo Armas, the first in a series of US-backed authoritarian rulers in Guatemala. Juan Jose Arevalo was elected president in Guatemala's first democratic election. He introduced a minimum wage and near-universal suffrage and turned Guatemala into a democracy. Arevalo was succeeded by Arbenz in 1951, who instituted land reforms which granted property to landless peasants. The Guatemalan Revolution was disliked by the United States federal government, which was predisposed during the Cold War to see it as communist. This perception grew after Arbenz had been elected and formally legalized the Communist Guatemalan Party of Labor. The United Fruit Company, whose highly profitable business had been affected by the end to exploitative labor practices in Guatemala, engaged in an influential lobbying campaign to persuade the U.S. to overthrow the Guatemalan government. U.S. President Harry Truman authorized Operation PB Fortune to topple Arbenz in 1952. Although it was quickly aborted, it was a precursor to PB Success. And then Eisenhower came and went through with the rest of it. So y'all can read the rest of that on your own. There will be a link in the description. So, just saying, when you see a frame like this frame here, Gloria Alvarez here, Guatemalan born, telling us that imperialism is not really a thing. The US getting rich on the backs of poorer nations, not really a thing. Kind of funny, isn't it? It's kind of like when PragerU talks about Venezuela, knowing full well they're backed by oil companies. I see what's going on here. I don't have a punchline to that. That's a pretty thorough trashing of her arguments, I'd have to say.
Look at Venezuela, which has vast oil and mineral reserves, but has shortages of every basic necessity.
Venezuela.
Okay. Side note, everyone, if you back me on Patreon, you can get green screen footage of me blowing a Venezuela. Vuvuzela. $1 gets you access, and you can do whatever you want with it.
Just of every basic necessity. Why? Because of socialist policies.
We went over this in the last video, because their economy wasn't diversified, and because the United States has, and is still, leading a pretty large embargo against the state of Venezuela.
Because of those same deceiving politicians who promise to fight for the people and give you free stuff.
It's like a broken record.
And you're going to fall for these lies again in your adopted country?
Oh man, she's not making a direct claim here, but she's essentially calling the Democratic Party socialist, which is absurd. I guess it makes sense if you have to reduce everything down to the level where a 5th grader can understand it, and you have to reduce it down to free stuff. I guess it makes sense that, yeah, the Democrats are just like Hugo Chavez. It's wrong and it's incoherent, but it's like, what am I gonna do? You're in the 5th grade. You don't know any better.
Do you think by electing politicians who will fight for the people?
I'm sorry, isn't a politician supposed to fight for the people? Ah, that's a perfect image. What's even the point in having a politician if they're not gonna do that? Oh, let me guess. Serve the interests of business owners, right? Because that's all government is good for people like this. Okay, that's enough of that.
Fight for social justice.
Oh, is social justice is socialism? You didn't say anything about social justice in the rest of this video. Where is this coming from? We're now in the last minute or so of the video. This is like where you wrap it all up in your conclusion. You didn't mention this. This is not how you build an essay.
And raise taxes on the 1% who are exploiting the wealth of the 99% that you will get ahead?
This is a weird way to deliver that line. Raise taxes on the 1%. Yeah, I think she's a psychopath. I mean, it's not really about anyone here getting ahead. A counter to this argument would be it's about providing a baseline so that people can flourish. But the truth with American taxation is it's less about whatever she's going on about and more about we're going to bring our tax policy in line with that golden age that allowed us to become so prosperous in the first place. Ah, yeah, here we are. This red line is 2018. As you can see, the people at the very top are paying less in taxes. As a percentage of their total income, they're paying less than the rest of us. This is quite literally them taking it from the rest of us. But look at this number all the way at the top up here. What year is that? Oh, 1950? I wonder what it was that might have made America so affluent. Oh, nope, we're just gonna keep dropping the tax rate for the higher people. We're just gonna keep dropping it. That'll fix it. That's definitely not gonna make it look like your country of Guatemala. That's definitely not gonna make a class of rich people running the government that the rest of us can't even hope to touch. That's definitely not gonna happen, isn't it, Gloria?
In other words, will you support the same policies and vote for the same types of politicians here who made such a mess back home? The United States became wealthy because its government stayed out of the way of its citizens.
Do I even need to say anything at this point? I swear, it's like these PragerU videos keep getting worse as I go down the list. The others were like garbage propaganda, but this video is like a 5th grader had to write an essay, but forgot about it, and wrote it down on a paper towel an hour before it was due. At this point, I feel like I've thoroughly shredded this. I just realized what this freeze frame says. This text here could be seen as a tactic endorsement of slavery. I just noticed that. The United States did become wealthy because the government let people own slaves and fucking steal their work.
The more power you give to the government, the less power you have to control your own life.
I like that we've gone all the way through the video here, but she hasn't given a single example of a government policy that follows this track. What policy am I supporting giving the government more power? She didn't say a single one. Less power you have to control your own life? Like what? How does that work? Now the argument that I always say is, you know, I need my pills, man. Is it such a horrible thing to want my medication and not have to pay hundreds of dollars for it? Is it such a horrible thing that I want everyone else in my country to not have to worry about that too? My goals don't have anything to do with this. This doesn't have anything to do with anything, really. This video didn't even do a good job tying this to immigrants.
Prosperity and opportunity diminish as government grows.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Why did you, like so many of my fellow Guatemalans, come to the US? Because your society was broken.
I wonder who broke it.
You chose to make a new life in the United States. You could have gone to another Latin American country with a similar culture and the same language as your home country.
Whoa. Gone to another Latin American country with a similar culture? That's kind of fucking racist. I don't know about that one.
But you didn't, because the United States is different. Please, help keep it that way.
By not coming to the US? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm Gloria Alvarez, author of The Populist Deception for Prager University.
Ah, she just hates populism. Can you imagine getting involved in politics and not being a populist? Why would you not? The only reason to not be a populist is like if you're a monarch or you're making like buckets of money off people. Oh my god, that face. That's a good face. I knew there would be a lot of good faces in this video. So I think what this is that they're kind of upset that they're not getting the immigrant vote. They're kind of upset that a lot of immigrants are voting Democrat. And then they're like, how can we address this? I know, we'll send a Guatemalan libertarian who can't string together very many coherent arguments for more than 20 seconds. We'll have her talk about socialism in Venezuela. That always works. So, immigrants don't support what you fled. All right, let's do a quick recap of that. Did not specifically mention any policies that immigrants are supporting in the US. Did not mention any policies that ruined their countries that they fled from. Ignored the history of American interventionism within Latin America. Ignored the exploitation of the United Fruit Company, among others, in her own country. Not even a counter argument to it. Just no. Number 6, Vuvuzela, didn't really give a good argument for what immigrants should be supporting. Just talking corrupt governments and socialism. But that's not a good argument. You need to explain more than that. You need to give some, like, actual policies and explain how they work. It's not, this isn't good enough. This video, I get it. It's good for the people who like PragerU, but for everyone else, it's like, ugh, another fucking PragerU ad. I can't click the button fast enough to skip it. Speaking of socialism.
That's right, baby. We squeezed out one last video this month just for you. Wow.
Thanks to all the October Patreon backers. Critch, Dios, Elsie Hup, George, Jai Palamo, Mellow Cheddar, and the Willowy Wings. Thank you, all of you. This has been a productive month. Thanks for funding my Patreon corruption. The more Patreon backers I have, the more corrupt I become. That's how it works, right? Oh no, wait, does it only apply to government? If the bigger a government gets, the more corrupt they become. Wouldn't it also follow that the more wealth someone accumulates, the more corrupt they become? Shouldn't we and PragerU and Gloria Alvarez all be in favor of redistributing their wealth so no one individual becomes too corrupt and influential over the rest of us? Oh no, it only applies to the government. Idiots.